welcome to yet another episode of Simplified with me, Tanvi Shukla. What are your thoughts, and have you recently had a conversation with your friends or colleagues on whether or not Twitter should have an edit button, considering it's become such a talking point? What about the fact that whether you believe that Twitter at any point will be able to beat the bot armies, or it even tries to do so to stop these bots who are constantly harassing people left, right and center, misleading people, generating trends that are really of nobody's interest? What about the fact that we often I wonder, many others I know do as well, whether tweets of a certain kind are not popping up on my feed even though I am following the creators behind those tweets. We often do wonder of what it is that we are seeing and if that is how it is meant to be. So many questions, and often the debate really boils down to transparency and the intent of the platform in fighting concepts like bot completely. Now, this is not restricted to India. It's a global conversation, it's a global debate. A lot of it has been again triggered in the past few weeks because of the developments that we've seen in this space. Of course, I'm talking about Elon Musk and his run-ins with the social media giant Twitter. Now, a lot of debates have happened, a lot of reports have been written, and conversations have been held on what is it that Elon Musk is really thinking? Why is it that he wants to buy Twitter? Today we sit here with some more insights into what exactly he may be wanting and which direction he may be headed if his offer to buy Twitter actually goes through. And that's a big if. Elon Musk agrees, and all of us know that as well. But let's look at some of the comments that he made in a recent conversation that came out about 3 to 4 days ago in conversation with the chief of the TED platform. And this is what Elon Musk had to say. For me, the biggest takeaway was when he said that it is important for there to be an inclusive arena of free speech. This is something he's mentioned earlier. He mentioned this as part of his SEC disclosures as well when he made the offer to buy Twitter. Elon Musk says that it is very important that people have both the reality and the perception that they will be able to speak freely, that they are able to speak freely, but within the bounds of law. He said that one of the few things that the Twitter needs to look into is to open source the algorithm and ensure that its actions on tweets are apparent to people. Now, what does this mean? It essentially means if the Twitter is taking any action on a specific tweet or because of the content, whether it's being suppressed or pushed or suspended or deleted, Twitter has to be extremely upfront about what is being done and why it is being done. That's what he's essentially talking about. He, in fact, is also asked by the interviewer on the entire concept about the edit button, and he says, yes, I think there should be an edit button. Of course, we know that. He put out a poll about that on Twitter as well. But how will it work? At this point, even Elon Musk doesn't know. He says he's open to ideas. One of the biggest conversation points, and we're going to talk about that today, is how do you tackle the bot armies? One of the big things that even Elon Musk is looking at is to stop and tackle the scam bots, the spam bots. How do you do that? At what point is it about technology and can it really take place? So there are a lot of things that we're going to talk about today in this conversation. Let's quickly first do a recap of the timeline of this entire Elon Musk versus Twitter battle that has unfolded in the last few weeks. Actually, Elon Musk started buying stake in Twitter, picking up shares in the market from January. By March, he had reached about 5% stake in Twitter by March itself. Then on April 4th is when the world found out that he had managed to buy a lot more, and his stake had reached almost over 9%, and he had crossed that very important mark. On April 5th, then, the Twitter CEO said that they are inviting Elon Musk to join the Twitter board, obviously because he had become such a large shareholder within the social media giant. Twitter then came out about 6 days after that, 5-6 days after that, and said that Elon Musk had rejected the offer to join the board and take up that board seat. Musk then went on to make an offer for about 43 billion, or values Twitter at that price, to buy out Twitter completely. So he said, okay, 10% doesn't seem to be giving me what I want in terms of having a say. Maybe I still will have to listen to other people. Here is what I want to do. I want to take Twitter private, and I'm willing to buy all of it. Twitter very quickly came out with this strategy, a resolution which is called the poison pill then, and we'll explain to you what that is, essentially to ensure that there is no hostile takeover attempt by Elon Musk. So the questions we still want to find answers to: why does Elon Musk want to buy Twitter? What can really change if he actually ends up buying Twitter? And like I said, that's a very big if. Can Musk bring more transparency, more accountability? Is Twitter's failure to stop bots about lack of will, and can that really change if there is a change in management? And if indeed there is a change in management of Twitter, will that be good for the company or detrimental? Let's say hello and welcome to Neil Shah, Vice President Research at Counterpoint Research, joining me right now on this conversation. Neil, I'm sure you saw that interaction that came out a few days ago, right on the day of the announcement. In fact, what did you make of what Elon Musk is trying to say, especially when it comes to saying, I'm going to give the freedom to people within the bounds of law? I don't believe your first attempt needs to be to suspend somebody's account or permanently delete that account.
I think that's a valid conversation, and as we have seen how Twitter has grown as the premier platform for communicating, transacting, and even also talking to each other about your opinions, as well as trying to position your, maybe it's a idea or a product or your opinion. In that sense, there has been a lot of gray areas with respect to Twitter, where obviously there are national laws which prevent you from spreading hate speech, and those are not encouraged or explicit content. But there are different level of protocols, and everything is to see for Twitter is algorithm based, and there is less manual intervention. So in some cases, we have seen the accounts have been flagged or banned, even if they have not done anything wrong, only because the algorithm detected there was something false, or the Twitter's account has been suspended. But in many cases where there have been a lot of different autocratic people or senior people talking about and instigating crowd and even some form of indirect hate speech, there has been nothing done about it. So actually there is a flaw in terms of either algorithm or it was designed that way. And if you look at the basic business model of Twitter, it's designed as an advertising platform. So it is not designed as a free speech platform. So that is where Elon Musk is trying to use the power of the platform to convert it into more of a free speech and a more transparent platform.
Okay, fair enough, and I think everybody will agree. I think, largely if we see across the world in every country, the left believes Twitter is biased towards the right believes Twitter is biased towards the left, and that battle rages on. But it essentially stems from what you're saying. That there will be instances where certain problematic things, or how an individual or entity may view a tweet problematic, isn't taken down, and in other instances, you may believe that, this action of taking down a tweet or even flagging it off was perhaps too harsh. And essentially this happens because there is manual intervention. A lot of what the action that Twitter takes is because there is a team also sitting there that is actually going through this content, and basis whatever guidelines they have, they are deciding whether this should be flagged off or this should be deleted or not. So there is a manual intervention, a human sitting there who's making that decision. Now, who decides who that human has to be? Is there really an answer that even Elon Musk has to this problem?
Yes, absolutely. So as you said, most of it has been algorithmic, but for some really sensitive and high level tweets from personalities, it has been manual intervention, and obviously then the bias comes in, as you say, for that particular individual. He might be pro or against and so forth. So I think that is where I said the algorithm needs to be changed in a way where even Elon Musk is trying to portray that he also doesn't know the answer how it's going to work, but in a sense where it's free, it's very simple, it's unbiased, and and it flags and just maybe downgrades a particular tweet in a sense, rather than banning a particular account, right? And users, it can be even crowdsourced, where users actually downvote the particular tweet if they find it's abusive or related to hate speech or something. It's a matter of perspective in the end, right? Something which is right to one person might be wrong to another person, as you said.
Okay, so then let's see what could possibly be the solution. And you're right, even he's very, not very clear on how he's going to do about it. In fact, to that specific question about, what if there is a doubt and there is a manual intervention, and then who decides what kind of bias then seeps in. He actually said that if in doubt, if there is a gray area, then let the tweet really exist. That we need to be reluctant to delete tweets in permanent bans or bring in permanent ban. Do you agree, Neil, with that kind of an idea? Because a lot of people are extremely scared today when they think that, oh, he's saying that if there is doubt, if there is gray area, let the tweet be. It could be an extremely problematic tweet, and then we don't know what's going to happen on this platform. Okay, I think we've lost that line with Neil Shah. We're going to try and patch him back on this conversation. Let me actually summarize meanwhile, that it's an hour-long conversation that he has at that event. A lot of it is also to do with Tesla. A lot of it is to do about how his brain also works. It's an extremely insightful conversation. But in terms of my own takeaways on when he's talking about Twitter, these are the key phrases that kept popping up again and again. Trust in Twitter, the fact that it needs to be broadly inclusive. A lot of people's immediate reaction is that, oh, if Elon Musk comes back, he's going to ensure that Donald Trump is back on Twitter, that his account that was suspended and blocked by the social media giant after his presidency ended, around that time actually, that people like Donald Trump will be back on this platform. That's what he means by being broadly inclusive. I don't know, but he definitely is a free speech absolutist. And if he says that he is going to, within the bounds of law, ensure that everybody gets to speak their mind and say what they want to, then perhaps that is what is going to happen. So repeatedly in that conversation, he talks about democracy, transparency, free speech, broadly inclusive. I think Neil is back with us. Neil, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, sorry, the power cut.
Okay, yeah. So the question that I was asking you was, also what Elon Musk has said, that if there is a gray area, then I would just let the tweet be. Are we then, headed in a dangerous direction?
Yeah, I think so. It could be dangerous unless, as I said, there could be different type of solutions where, as I was saying earlier, it could be more crowdsourced, where the collective, the Twitter crowd actually decides whether it's positive or negative again. But then the next thing comes on is bots. If there are a lot of bots which are downgrading or upgrading bots, then it doesn't make sense. So the first part, as you said rightly when you introduced about the entire saga, is the bots army, right? So if that is tackled first, and then you give an option to either edit or either downgrade or upgrade in a crowdsourced way, I think that would make much more sense, and for the Twitter to be in terms of a platform for a free speech.
Okay, so one of the options that you're saying is that you allow people to weigh in on problematic tweets. I think whichever way Twitter in its current avatar with its current management or in the future decides to go, fact is everybody agrees that there needs to be a lot more transparency. If Twitter is taking
Correct.
some action, it needs to be extremely clear to that account holder and to everybody else on the platform on why that action has been taken.
Correct.
And that's one of the key problem areas that Elon Musk has highlighted, and he repeatedly talks about it. But then you said, and very rightly so, that a big challenge that comes about are the bot armies, and that's again something that he said he wants to stop the scam and spam bots. Now let me ask you, why is it that Twitter is still playing the catch-up game, not really able to get a handle on this, and how can that really change if there is a change in management?
Yeah, I think that has not been a priority because, first of all, they are answering investors, and all the investors' money is linked to MAUs, right? Monthly active users. So if you remove the bots, and which is the fastest growing segment, I would say, then in terms of that, you would see MAUs declining or being stagnant, right? So it is maybe a known problem which Twitter maybe chooses to ignore, or it is trying to do something, but it's still not rolled out yet, right? So anyways, it has been almost a decade now, and Twitter could have found a solution if it wanted to.
So you're saying that the solution can be found if Twitter wants to, but right now, because they still seem to be acting like a company which is in investment mode, they haven't really looked at these options, and that's perhaps there is space to do that. That if the change in management happens and Elon Musk comes in, takes the company private, he will manage to do so.
Exactly. Because if you take the company private, you're not answerable to shareholders. You're not answerable to report your MAU's growth. That is not a criteria. Only criteria is how you are performing in terms of your bottom line, top line, and you're still not answerable to them. You're answerable to board. And as a platform, it becomes much more stronger and neutral in a sense because you're not swayed by the metrics which are less important and which could put spanner in the wheel for the free speech platform it could be.
Is there an argument to be made, Neil, also whether commercially it makes sense for the platform to allow these bots to continue to thrive and function?
That's an interesting thought, but I believe whatever things which you cannot control, and if it is all about free speech, and if bots are going to, obviously bots are there for a reason, and they're actually designed to actually take one side or another, right? Or promote lots of tweets in a sense where a particular personality wants more, I would say, coverage for a particular tweet or a particular opinion. That is where the bot army kicks in. So it is against, I would say, the rules of free speech where you are using automation to drive up your agenda, basically. So it dilutes the.
Okay, interesting. The interesting view that you've presented here. Again, linking it directly to free speech. Now, let's talk about the poison pill. Firstly, I would ask you to help me also explain this to our viewers. Largely, I understand poison pill, which is a strategy that has been adopted by the Twitter board after Elon Musk made his bid, is to try and avoid a hostile takeover. That if Elon Musk really tries to buy more and more stake directly from the market, from the current investors and shareholders, this resolution will kick in, and it will essentially mean disastrous news for Twitter itself. So they will have to then offer shares at a discount to the existing investors at a very, very big discount. And if people start taking up that offer, then Twitter will actually run out of money to pay them, that price, which spells disaster for the company itself and anybody who's actually wanting to buy it. Would that be a correct interpretation, Neil? How do you explain the poison pill to people?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed a question.
No, I was saying that let's try and see this poison pill resolution that the Twitter as a company has adopted to try and stop Elon Musk. How will that work?
I think it's in the end, it depends on how much, what is the intent of Elon, whether it's more about, whether free speech is more than what he is going to pay for Twitter. If that is the case, then he would bring in investors and try to even pay a super premium for it. If he thinks this is the platform which will expand into the platform for the entirety of next decade in terms of free speech, because obviously there's no other platform like Twitter right now, which has all the media personalities, all the government, and all the A1 personalities out there sharing their opinion and news, basically. So it depends on if Elon wants to pay the premium and he will get the money, and if it is not, if that is not the case, if there is some other ulterior motive of making money out of it using the platform, then he will think twice whether to pay a premium, that much of a premium, and if there is no clarity on the business model on where he can take Twitter further. So the poison pill could work in that scenario.
Okay, this is what he tweeted, saying that if current Twitter board takes actions contrary to the shareholders' interest, they would be breaching their fiduciary duty. The liability they would thereby assume would be titanic in scale. Obviously, there is a larger thought process, and Twitter, because it's a public company, has to keep in mind the interest of the shareholders along with the interest of the company's future itself, and largely they're both the same. Everybody wants to make money out of it, those working for Twitter and those who hold the shares, and so it won't be very difficult, it won't be actually very easy for Twitter's board to right away reject any offer that comes through. If an offer does value the company and its future prospects, then they will have to give it a serious note, and that part still exists. What Twitter has tried to do with the poison pill is to say, well, if you're going to go to the market and pick up our shares and say, now I'm the biggest shareholder, I've pretty much got everything, that's what we're trying to stop here. So anybody who tries to buy more than 15% without the board's approval will end up triggering this poison pill, which then poisons the company and all of its investors as well. So that's essentially where the name comes from. But let's look at what Elon Musk said in that conversation. And he said that he has the money, and if it comes to buying out Twitter, it won't be a problem for him to arrange the funding. He was also asked, what if this current bid doesn't go through? And he very carefully thought about it and said, yes, there is a plan B. So I don't think this battle is going to end anytime soon. In fact, if you also see what the Twitter CEO has said in his email to all the employees when he told them that Elon Musk will not be joining the board, he also said that we need to focus on our work. There will be lots of distractions in the future. That now we understand, Neil, clearly was an indication that a lot more would happen. The first one of it being Elon Musk's offer to buy out Twitter completely. But what do you make of the way the current Twitter board is handling this attack?
It's slightly difficult to see what's going into their minds in terms of, because everyone has vested interest when it comes to a particular merger or acquisition, right? Everyone, as you said, wants to make money, quick money out of it. And if Elon Musk is sweetening the deal to avoid the poison pill or any other route which goes, I think board will have to answer to shareholders, and I think that is something which they might be thinking what would be next, and I don't think they will make it even more difficult further than the poison pill, I would say.
Okay, very quickly then, as a summary to this conversation, do you think it would be good for us, the Twitter users, if Elon Musk ends up buying the company?
I would say yes, in a sense, because right now we have seen Twitter in its form for last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Now there is a time it can become a much bigger platform with a better business model, right? Which is serving the actual interest in the platform which it has become.
Okay, Twitter has issues about adding more and more people, more and more users. That obviously has become a concern. It also has concerns about generating more advertisements or finding other revenues to come into the company. That's why a lot of experts say that it's still in that investor phase and has not really reached that point where it should have by now. So yes, there are business concerns, but that's for the Twitter management and their shareholders to look at. What Neil and I and you would be interested in, how does it change my life? We don't know if Elon Musk will end up buying the company and will then follow through on what he's indicating, but I will reiterate what he has indicated. He intends to make Twitter a completely privately owned company, because like Neil Shah was also pointing out, that makes it easier for you to bring about big changes. You do not have to follow those many rules and regulations, get approvals, keep the shareholders and the public's interest in mind. So when you're going to make larger changes, it's easier, and that's why Elon Musk says if we need to revamp it, we need to take it private. He's also going to be, or at least he says, he wants to bring in more transparency, that if Twitter takes action on a certain tweet, it needs to be very clear to people what action has been taken and why that action has been taken. So that transparency and accountability, which has also been one of the big debating points around Twitter's current existence, is something that Elon Musk has also listed out. He then says he's going to first look at, and his top priority will be to stop the bots, the fake robotic accounts that function there, that completely skew conversations, that completely hijack the agenda on Twitter by whoever wants to and can pay for these bots. That's something that he is going to look at completely weeding out. It hasn't happened to that extent so far in Twitter's current avatar. He says he wants to make Twitter a more inclusive, free speech platform, and of course bring about the edit button for tweets. How it happens and when, we will wait and watch, but definitely this is going to be one interesting battle. Thank you, Neil Shah, for joining us, and thank you to all of you also for joining me in this edition of Simplified.